No.
Cindy can come in for me. I want to talk about the thing.
The email she sent us.
No, I didn't.
Maybe you can forward it to Cindy and ask her to bring it down.
I didn't get it.
Did you guys get it?
I got it.
You got it, yeah. I forgot.
Tony.
Let me run up.
Okay. Spring. You're on Forest.
Just so they don't send.
No video yet. Okay, thank you. Got it? Sure. Do you have it on your phone?
I just realized she sent it in this morning.
Like, yeah.
I'm not getting it.
I'm okay, I
It
got it.
says that
I'm good.
she sent it.
Right.
Right, Matt. Is he gonna record it or?
Said he's working.
I sent an email to the help desk also.
Okay.
We have all our libraries.
Good morning, everyone. I ask you to please rise for our prayer and pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we have much to celebrate during this time of year. Many young adults are graduating from high school, college, and trade programs. We celebrate each of their lives, and we ask you to guide them in the next season of life. Lord, next Monday we will celebrate Flag Day. 244 years ago on June 14th, the United States Congress ratified and accepted an official flag of the United States. This symbol of our freedom has withheld the test of time through battles, wars, and conflict. Our flag has been burned, torn, and tattered. It has been raised in battle, flown from buildings in our homes. It was even planted firmly on the face of the moon. It is our symbol of a wonderful nation. Every person, family, and nation has its faults. Nothing is perfect except for you, God. We would not trade our families nor our nation. It's our heritage, it's who we are. Let us remember that each state represents a state in our union. We look to the skies and the heavens. We see the millions of stars you have created in our endless universe. 50 of those stars fell from the heavens to represent us, the nation under you. The red in our flag stands for the blood that was shed for our freedom. We are reminded of your Son's blood that was shed for our eternal freedom. The white is the purity of a new nation, such as you hear us and purify us, Father. The blue signifies the diligence, perseverance, and justice. Lord, we ask you to keep us vigilant. In your name, may we persevere as a nation and always stand for justice. Give us the strength to defend against those that want to define our heritage. May we always stand for the flag, knowing that our freedoms are not free. So today let us pledge our allegiance to the flag, our heart to the soldier who defends it, and our lives to you who sacrificed it all for us. These things we humbly bring to you this morning, and we ask for your continued blessings on our county. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll convene the Commissioners' Public Meeting and ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. And we'll have public comment on agenda items only at this time. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on.
Move on to 2.0, Accounts Payable Cash Requirements Report with Brandy Clements.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to seek your approval on the Accounts Payable Cash Requirements Report for the invoices due through 6/16/2021 to be paid on 6/9/2021 in the amount of $487,038.59. Did you have any questions this week?
Any questions?
Yes, I noticed, again, there was a lot taken out for the leachate. Jason, are you on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we went over, and it was an incredible job that you guys have performed to get Field 12 ready. And I guess my question to you is, when you look at Field 11, it has really gotten large. I mean, it's high now. So when will that field be closed? And Field 12, when have you anticipated Field 12 being opened? And must we have that leachate tank done prior to that being open?
Well, yes, sir. First off, Field 11 to the current, if we take Field 11 to the height that when you were on top of there, that'll be another year or so, about 2.5 years actually. Then Field 12 is when we would move over there and start that. Then as we bring Field 12 up, then we would take both fields and go actually another 30 or so feet higher. But yes, by permit, we must have the tank, leachate tank online before we are allowed to occupy Field 12. We were actually supposed to have it for Field 11. That's why, if you recall, I had to bring before you for your approval a notice of violation where we had to pay a $20,000 penalty for occupying Field 11, starting in 2012. So we've been handcuffed by not having a leachate tank for some time.
So is there any fear that we don't come up with a resolution or a design that adequately meets DEP's requirements?
I wouldn't say it's a fear, sir. It's just that we are working with some of the industry leaders. It's working with HD, PE lining systems, spray-on systems. There's just multitudes that we're trying to look at every aspect. One of the problems now is high-density polyethylene, which HDPE has pretty much gone through the roof as far as price. People's milk jugs are actually worth more per pound than their aluminum beer cans, sir. So that's another thing that's now weighing in on our project.
So here's my concern and my fear is how long have we had this leachate tank that did not work?
The
6, 7?
tank could be completed in 2013 under the direction of Director Tucker.
So we're talking 7 to 8 years.
Yes, sir.
And in a blink of an eye, 2 years pass.
Yes.
So if this isn't resolved, and forget about the lawsuit, just a new design, that if it isn't passed, then there's a possibility that our landfill could be closed.
We will be doing it. Well, we are doing everything to avoid that. We have quite a few options right now on the table. Meeting with engineering firms, meeting with liner companies, trying to bring the best minds together on how to solve the situation that we have.
Okay.
So just for folks who may not quite know the saga of the tank, it was built with about $7 million of landfill revenues, and it's not functioning. And so there's a lawsuit that the county is in, directed against Lobar, who was the contractor that built the tank. It's too bad Lobar didn't step up and do it without us having to sue. But we are in a lawsuit, and hopefully we will get that resolved. That's what Commissioner Masseur is referring to.
This saga's been going on for 8 years.
Yeah.
And for everyone out there in the audience that looks at our recordings, tapes of the commissioners' meeting, it is being recorded. You probably cannot see it.
It'll be on later today.
It'll be on later today. We apologize.
The live stream isn't working.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, could I have a motion?
I move to approve the cash requirement,
I'll second.
$487,038.59.
I'll second that motion.
All fair side?
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you.
Randy.
Personnel actions with Roxanne Greco.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Roxanne?
I'd like to take 3-1 separately. This is the personnel actions that were processed in the month of May 2021.
Okay. Any comments or questions on those positions that were approved? Hearing none, could I have a motion?
I move to approve the report on the May personnel actions.
I'll second.
All fair say aye.
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 Aye, so carried. Thank you.
Moving on, in the Department of Public Safety Communications, Tyler C. Landis as a full-time replacement addressing coordinator, GIS specialist, pay grade 8, $41,529.60 annually effective June 14th, 2021. And in Veterans Affairs, James M. Mitchley, full-time reclassification. This is a fully qualified status. Veterans Affairs Assistant, pay grade 7, $18.31 an hour effective June 13th, 2021.
Okay, so we have a replacement position and then Jim got his training for.
Fully qualified status.
Okay, great, thank you. Have a motion to accept both?
I'll move to approve both.
A second?
All fair side?
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Moving on to TDA's action. We're requesting to add on the TDA under maintenance, the creation of one temporary part-time electrician, pay grade 11.
Okay, do we have a representative on the phone from the controller's office?
Salary board.
This is TD.
That's right, TD, I'm sorry. Yes, I jumped ahead. I have a motion.
Yep. I'll move to approve the temporary part-time electrician.
A second?
All fair side?
Aye.
So carried.
So we're recessing the Commissioners' public meeting for the salary board actions with Roxanne.
Okay, Commissioners, under the salary schedule then, we would ask to create under maintenance the temporary part-time electrician position at a pay grade 11.
Okay. Now, do we have somebody from the salary board from the controller's office on the phone? They were requested to be here this morning, and they said they would be here.
Nikki, are you on the line? Krista?
We had a conversation yesterday with Nikki, and she said they would be here. Okay.
Is the solicitor on?
Yes,
Mr. Smith?
actually, it's Mr. Wiley today.
Oh, Mr. Wiley, how are you?
I'm well.
How many on the salary board do we need to be able to move out on this?
I thought a quorum was 3.
That's what I thought. So I think we could move out on this. Do you agree, Mr. Wiley?
If I'm correct on the quorum, yes, I believe it's 3.
Okay, yeah, I think it's.
You have all 3 commissioners there, I
Yes.
believe, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you're good to go.
And yesterday, when we talked to the controller's office, they were good with this action.
Okay. Well, then I'd ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve the part-time electrical position for the salary board.
I'll second.
All fair side?
Aye.
So carried.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Reconvene the Commissioners' public meeting. And we have a couple informational items. Steve Sims, are you on the line?
Now, this is Jason York. I have all the items for our map.
Oh, okay, sorry, Jason.
That's okay.
All right, so you have the 2 informational items.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Our first informational item is, most people know, but we want to just put it out there again. Upper Fairfield Township recycling drop-off site will be closing effective July 12th. Commissioners had already acknowledged the contract previous meeting, so we just want to put it out there just as a reminder. Yesterday, I had 2 news outlets visit the office pretty much at the same time doing articles on it, but Upper Fairfield Township recycling drop-off has a sign up there notifying, but it'll be July 12th.
And Jason, can you inform the public again why it was closed? And
Basically, Commissioner, was closed due to misuse, illegal dumping. Even in the news articles yesterday, they showed the plastic lawn chairs and stuff that was sitting there. We had sinks, they've had windshields, just things that were never asked for, sir. No matter what size the opening, no matter how big the container is, no matter what, those are items that the township supervisors have done their best. They tried to work with the public. They notified, put a sign out, tried to remind people, and just didn't didn't make a difference at the end.
So this is the township's decision to disband it. And again, it shows that if the public doesn't want to cooperate with these sites, they run the risk of this happening in their own backyards.
Yeah. Next item, Commissioners, the landfill will be going out for bid for landfill gas wells, liquid pumps, and air compressor. We're going to start a massive project where we start to close off some of the old sections of the landfill. Our first project here is going to be 28 landfill gas wells, and we're going to be installing pumps, and then we also will be purchasing a compressor. Your pumps and everything must run off of air, not electric, because of the fire hazard and so forth inside the landfill. The pre-bid meeting will be held June 23rd here at the landfill. We also expect the due date for all the bids need to be in by July 9th, and we will be using pen bid program again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to action items. 7.1, Director McDermott to vote on appointment of Dr. Grace Hsu.
Good morning, Commissioners. Seeking your approval to appoint Dr. Grace Hsu as the Chief Advisor to the County of Lycoming on International Affairs.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could give you a little background here. We have found in the last 6 months, we've had two situations where businesses have come to us who are headquartered in China. One, of course, we know about is ShopVac, was purchased by a Chinese company, and then there's another company that's been interested. And Dr. Hsu is someone who's known to all three of us and who many in the community know. She had been the chief advisor for the city of Williamsport, and I just want to go over with you a couple of the things that she was able to accomplish. This is not a paid position. This is a volunteer. This is someone in the community who has relationships in both Taiwan and in mainland China. So she's been able to do a number of things. She established a sister Chamber of Commerce relationship between the Williamsport Lycoming Chamber of Commerce and the Kaohsiung Taiwan Republic of China Chamber of Commerce. And that was the first sister relationship for the Chamber in Asia. She played a major role in establishing a sister city relationship between Williamsport and the city of Taizhou, which is in the People's Republic of China, and between Williamsport and the city of Pingtung, which is in Taiwan. She helped establish Acer Computer Company in Williamsport's Industrial Park, which brought both investment dollars and jobs to Lycoming County. On the cultural side, she's arranged for the Chinese folk dance troops to come and perform at both Lycoming College and at the Little League Baseball World Series. She arranged for high-ranking officials from China and from Taiwan to visit and tour our area, churches, and rescue facilities with an eye towards investment. And she's arranged for Ambassador Yang Shi from China to visit Lycoming County and to meet some of the potential business leaders in our community. He later became the foreign minister, and he's currently the director of the Central Foreign Affairs Commission, which is a high-ranking diplomatic position under President Xi. She formed a Williamsport city delegation to visit China, and a number of people in our community went. And she's arranged for several congressmen, senators, and mayors to visit foreign countries to recruit foreign investment. What we're hoping is that Dr. Hsu will be able to help us navigate and attract investment from China, continued investment from both mainland China and the Republic of Taiwan, and with an eye towards creating jobs and continuing to invest in rural Pennsylvania. She obviously speaks Chinese fluently. I mean, this is her native tongue. So we're very excited and very proud to move to appoint her as the chief advisor to the County of Lycoming. One of the things, we asked her to contact this company because they were sort of on the fence about whether they wanted to come here or wanted to go to another place. And having someone from our community who can, she and her husband are both doctors here, retired, but who can talk about the area in their native language to potential investors is obviously something that's helpful to all of us.
We've met many dignitaries because of Dr. Grace Hsu from China and Taiwan. She's genuine, and she loves America, and she wants to see it succeed, and she wants to bring the cultures together. So, to improve our relations. So she is a fantastic person, a fantastic representative for us, and her husband delivered my firstborn. So they've been around a while.
Her and her husband are tremendous assets to our county. They're fantastic people. I've had the opportunity to sit and talk with them both at many events, and it's wonderful she's volunteered to do this for us. She's met several presidents, and so she has quite the influence in government, and she also can enlighten us on a lot. So thank you, Grace, for stepping forward to us to do this for our county.
Thank you, Dr. Hsu. And I know sometimes it's hard for us, when we see a company like ShopVac, which was an American company bought by a Chinese company, we have to realize that American companies are in China buying companies and investing. And the reality is that there actually wasn't an American company stepping up to buy ShopVac. And the company that bought it was able to combine it with other ongoing entities it has. And so I think sometimes it's hard for us to adopt to a changing world. I think Dr. Hsu, both through the cultural contacts and through the business contacts, is going to be able to help us as a community grow, and certainly as a nation to grow towards peaceful relations with all countries around the world. So we look forward to her bringing her skills to that, and we thank her for that.
Maya 2.
Excuse me, we have to vote on the appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Have a motion to accept.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All fair side?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Okay.
Next, Maya 2. You have several items, so I'll just let you.
Sure. The first item I have is to vote on Lycoming County fiscal year 2022 medical assistance transportation participant grant agreement, as well as the assurance of compliance. This is an annual grant that we get. It's a pass-through STEP Incorporated. The allocation is based off of usage. I think the last time we estimated was at 1.4 million. Obviously, that will be confirmed as we continue into the program and when we see our actual usage reports based off of fiscal reporting. But I have Dan Merck here from STEP to kind of give you statistical information on what the program has done over the past year.
We'll have our expert come forward.
I don't know about expert. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Commissioners. STEP is asking you to approve the contract for 21-22 for the Medical Assistance Transportation Program. We are anticipating allocation around $1.4 million. That is to provide transportation trips through paratransit, through mileage reimbursement, through bus pass reimbursement, mass transit reimbursement for medical assistance recipients in Lycoming County. We provide trips to medical facilities throughout the region, and when required by specialty referral through other areas throughout the state of Pennsylvania. One of the things we, like many other people, we did suffer last year because of the pandemic. Our ridership in the MATP program actually in April of last year was down about 65% from the previous year, but now it's kind of reversed itself this year, and it's up about 106% over last year. So we're getting back into the scope of things, and overall, it's about 70% of where it was, 72% where it was. So we're getting back to normal. So with that, I'll field any questions.
Well, when you think about it, the medical appointment's so vital, and without this grant, a lot of those individuals wouldn't be able to make it to those appointments.
Yes, and just an example, dentist, oral surgery, pediatric dentistry and surgery. For the most part, the closest facility we have is either Du Bois or for some operations up in Wellsboro. There are none within the local area which will accept medical assistance. I did explore one at Geisinger, but the problem is they're booking into 2022. So if you need oral surgery real fast, that's not going to work too well.
Okay. Have a motion to accept.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thanks for your work, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The next item I have before you is to vote on the Emergency Management Performance Grant. This is the federal fiscal year 2021 grant application. It's in the amount of $227,842. This is a 2021 budgeted item, and this does help offset the cost of 4 employees at DPS. There is a 50% match, though, associated with the grant.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item is to vote to amend the lease agreement that we have with the U.S. Department of Agriculture at the Livestock View Building. It's in the amount of $45,148. They have requested to extend their lease contract with the county for an additional 2 years to December 31st, 2024. The rate has stayed the same, and it is a 2021 budgeted item.
Okay, I want to thank them for extending their lease with us, and we appreciate their being with us. Is there a motion?
There's a move to approve. I was going to say also, it's nice having them there with the Conservation District and Penn State Extension and the other one-stop shopping for our agricultural community. So
It's a good home for them.
yeah, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item I have is to vote on the Architectural and Engineering Design Services Agreement that we are entering into with Palumbo Group Architects, Engineers, Interior Designers. It's in the amount of $89,400. And I didn't know if the commissioners wanted to talk a little bit more about what this is regarding, or...
Okay, go ahead. Commissioner, either one of you?
Yeah.
So we're excited about what we're trying to do. Some of you may know that over the past 4 or 5 years, we've transitioned from a traditional provider-paid insurance, in other words, where we pay Blue Cross or one of the providers, and we give a fixed amount, and that's what we pay. And we experienced a lot of increases in healthcare. So in an effort to try to get healthcare costs under control, we transitioned first to a cooperative type arrangement with other counties, and we've recently, in the last, I think this is our 3rd year, been self-funded. One of the reasons we became self-funded is because we have a very high retention rate with our employees. You can come to commissioner meetings and hear of employees who've been here 30, 35 years. So we have, both from a philosophical point of view of trying to keep people healthy, but really from an economic point of view to protect taxpayers, we have a stake in people's health and in making sure that we identify early on issues that they have with health so that we can get them rectified. So for example, before diabetes turns into renal failure, we intervene with people and we try to make sure that they are taking the steps to take care of themselves. Obviously, everyone is responsible for their health. But at the end of the day, the taxpayers through the commissioners are responsible for the health care we provide. Part of this is in setting up a health center. And we're going to be setting up a health center across the street at 3rd Street Plaza. We went out to bid on it. It is only for county employees. It's voluntary, but
And they're
And their dependents and the retirees who we cover. But what I mean is it's not open to the general public. That's a good point. It's for employees, dependents, and retirees. And we have enough in that group, we believe, to actually be able to utilize it. And we spent a lot of time studying it. We went out to bid with an RFP that Maya prepared and have brought together a group.
Yeah, we put together a committee of different departments, our unions, our prison, our MS. We had, I believe, 12 people on the committee. We put the broker out for RFP initially. I believe 10 people, or 10 companies bid on the RFP. We interviewed 2 per month over the course of about a year, and the committee, and then determined the broker we went with currently, and then did the same process for the health center. There was
Right.
5 entities that put out for bid on the RFP, which was this group that we hired.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what this is, these are the architectural and engineering design to be able to take the space across the street and build out a health center. And at first glance, you might think, excuse me, I'm still having an ear problem from yesterday or Sunday being in a pool. So if I sound like I'm shouting, it's because I can't hear myself.
What?
So at first blush, if you look at the contract, it estimates that the renovation cost is going to be a range of $1.2 million. What we need to do is look at the amount of money we're spending in the context. We spend roughly about $14 million a year on health insurance. And it's quite staggering when you think that over 10 years we're going to spend $140 million without any increases. And the reality is that we know that on average increase, healthcare goes up about 5 to 8% a year. Our goal is to basically reduce that healthcare spend by getting our employees, dependents, and so forth to really zero in on these problems before they develop. And the track record in other places, that what's happened. And maybe Commissioner Massaro, you want to talk about our trip? We took a trip down to...
Yeah, we went to New Jersey to a new facility that they were building several years ago. We talked to the commissioners that were down there and why they were implementing such a project. So we brought back that program here to see if it was feasible, because it does cost money. But when you look at the statistics and the data, it saved everyone who implemented the program money. And that's the bottom line. When I came here in 2012, our healthcare costs were about 6.4, 6.5. It is now $14 million. So that's just unsustainable. It means you have to go in different directions. And I have to take my hat off to our HR staff because they work hard for us in identifying ways of saving money and pursuing those avenues to get us the best bang for the buck. They came across a program that's called Vitality. If you catch your cancers early, it's a lot less expensive. There are employees here, 5 employees here that had serious cancer issues, and they drove about 60% of the cost. It is difficult to afford that. So we're going to be looking to prevent and to catch it early. And for the most part, the employees do buy in. We also put it over to the 3rd Street Plaza building so that it can be expandable, so that maybe we can join with other government entities, such as Williamsport, so that they can utilize it and bring their healthcare costs down as well. And then we can share the cost. I look to see our River Valley, they call it a clinic. It's very successful, very successful. And when you Go over there and you talk to the people that are walking into those doors to get the service. They're elated. They appreciate the fact that they can get good health care at a very reasonable cost. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here at Lycoming County.
And this isn't to replace anybody's doctor. It's to cut down on emergency care, so you don't have to rush to the emergency room. It also cut down on prescription costs, which are out of control. When we put this out for RFP initially with the broker, we went with the same broker. We told them to dive down deep in the data and sharpen their pencils. And we believe they did that. We really do. The employees pay about 8% of their salary towards 11% of their salary towards their insurance, so they do kick in. But again, at the same time, the costs continue to rise. And we've been able to keep it. This year, we kept it pretty much under control. I talked to a local government agency, and their costs went up 55%. And they had to pass a lot of that on to their employees. Their employees were paying about 5%, and now they're going to be paying 9 to 10% per employee. So again, it's a monster out there that we have to try to contain because everybody should have good health care, and at the same time, we want our employees healthy. They're productive when they're healthy, and at the same time, we reduce the taxpayers' dollars for health care. So this is a good avenue to go. And like the Commissioner said, every entity they've introduced this to in the different counties and states they're involved in, every one of them have been a success and have showed reduction in cost. So they have a good track record.
And they're still, the employees are still, the county is not running the health center in the sense that there's any personal information. It's all private. They contract with people who will be there. All the HIPAA regulations still apply. There's all the privacy, and it's voluntary. But the record has shown that when those things happen, employees partake of it. You can even think with your own situation. If you have a medical situation, sometimes you have to wait a while to get in to see a specialist, to see your own doctor. What this is going to do is, because of the accessibility and it's the voluntary nature of it, and the accessibility and the ability to go without appointments, is that we're going to be able to have our employees going and getting consultations on both behavioral health and physical health, where they can get referrals quickly and get problems dealt with. So
convenience too.
And convenience, that's right. And convenience.
Right on campus.
It's right on, yeah. So I think we're all excited about it, and I guess the point is that we're trying to do everything we can to keep healthcare costs down, and this is something.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item I have is to vote on a PCCD project modification request for the Victim Witness Services grant that's in the District Attorney's Office. As a result of turnover and employees and positions, there was a lag on expending down the funds. Now that there's a new hire that was hired on the 16th of May, it's kind of slowed the expenditure process, so I'm asking for an extension to allow for us to fully expend, as well as also transfer some funds from personnel into supplies category to fully expend it.
And the DA's office has hired a new victim impact coordinator for adult
And juvenile. Yeah, this is specific to the juvenile side. I think we'll be okay from the adult side, but this is specific to the juvenile side.
Okay, great. Have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item I have is to vote on an agreement with, Act 13 agreement with Muncie Township for a building renovation in the amount of $25,000.
Yeah, so we have two representatives from Muncie Township. Would you like to come up and make a statement? Just identify who you are. We know who you are, but just for the record.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tom Sheck. I'm Chair of the Board of Supervisors in Muncie Township. With me is Matt Doyle, the Vice Chair of Board of Supervisors. One of the things we did, and to be very succinct, because the commissioners graciously have worked with us attended a orientation and a walkthrough of our new facility, or I should more appropriately say a renovated facility, on January 25th of this year. We took an underperforming fire station that was in disrepair and repurposed the upstairs former social hall to a one-stop shop for government services, to include our local law enforcement, public works, and general administration. The fire company remains downstairs as an operating entity. It allowed us to divest ourselves of some very old, and I'm being kind when I say old, facilities that had dirt floors, no indoor plumbing, leaky roofs, missing window panes, and so forth, to be able to divest ourselves of that liability, to put it back on the tax rolls, and it has now been rehabbed and put into use by the private sector. It has allowed us to maintain our fleet of road maintenance equipment and law enforcement vehicles, and to provide a new updated facility that is compliant with all regulations relative to the Commonwealth and the provision of local law enforcement. Total ticket for this renovation upgrade was right around $2 million. We are actively working with the federal government and with the state in order to recoup some of those funds through some grant programs, and we approached the commissioners as they have in the past been gracious with other municipalities. We thought it was appropriate, because we do serve the growth corridor for Lycoming County, that we hopefully were able to procure some funds through the Act 13 program. So on behalf of the board, I want to thank the commissioners for your consideration and your willingness to work with us, and it's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for your service, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, thank you for, I didn't make it in January, but I had been over previously, and I know that it was in dire need. And this is really quite a project for you to take on. And we appreciate you doing it on behalf of the people there.
Yeah, I went on the tour down there. It's a beautiful building. It's all, like you said, a one-stop center now for the residents of your township, and it's done a great job. Thank you. Have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, side?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you again for your service.
The last item I have for you is to vote on an Act 13 agreement as well for the W.B. Conkle Memorial Library. It's in the amount of $50,000, and this again is to assist with the cost of building renovation, which has an estimated project of $325,000.
Yeah, we have some individuals from Aqua Library. I'd like to come up and make a statement and explain your overall renovation project.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about our project. My name is Bob Weaver. I'm Vice President of the Board of Directors of the Library. Also here with me is Donna Miller. She's a part of our board, and Rex Hilton from Hughesville, who a past treasurer of our board. He will be our honorary chair for a capital campaign we're going to kick off here in the very near future. I don't need to spend a lot of time talking to you about the value of the library system. We're part of the county library system, as you are aware. We know that you're aware of that because of your generous support of the library system over the past years. And if no one has thanked you for that support recently, on behalf of the system, let me thank you for your generous support of the county library system and all those 6 libraries that are part of that system. What I would like to talk to you about is some specifics of our project. It was probably 5 years ago, before my time on the board, that the board realized that some changes were needed, some renovations were needed. We engaged a library consultant from Lancaster to help us with some of our internal layout and design. We had involved an architect to look at our building systems, what needed changed. In January of 2019, we retained architect Anthony Visco in his office to help us with the feasibility study. And we came up with some, and I'd like to share with each of you the brochure we will use to kick off this campaign. And if I could, I'd just like to walk you through that and what we're about. The theme we've chosen is Time to Refresh, creating a new space for our next chapter. That's on the inside cover of the front page. The second page contains some of the library history. I don't intend to read that to you, but please review that at your leisure. One of the things I think that's noteworthy is the The population served is 13,200 folks. That's approximately 10% of the population of Lycoming County, so there are quite a few county residents who are served by the Conkle Library. If you go to the inside cover of this package, you will see a design at the top of the page. In addition to working with Tony Visco, we're working with Opening the Book North America. Not sure if you're familiar with that company or not. They're a North American company headquartered in Williamsport. They have some very creative, innovative, and colorful designs for libraries. So that's their design at the top. That's what we're looking to do, to renovate and modify all the shelving within the building. There at the lower right of that outlines some of the improvements we need to make to the library. There again, I don't know that I'm going to review all of them with you, but after 25 years, roofs need replaced. The supervisors are aware of those kind of things that need to be done. Carpet needs replaced. We have inefficient lighting systems, so we need a complete rehab of the library. Librarian's office, storage areas, and those types of things. Maya did mention the project cost. That's listed in the lower right-hand corner, $325,000 as our estimate for our project. That's a 2-year-old estimate. We now know it's probably going to go a little bit north of that number. The last page are some naming opportunities for those who will be part of our capital campaign. And on the last page, ask questions. When will the money be spent? We're looking to do our design this fall, put it out to bid, and we want to construct this project in 2022.
So this library is my backyard, and I've been in it often. I've taken community service workers over to help on the book sales, to carry the books up in the basement and get the book sales set up. And when you walk in the library, first walk in, it's like walking into 1950.
So you appreciate why we need to renovate it.
Exactly. And then you walk back into the children's section, and it's beautiful. And that was done in 2005.
Right.
And you know, they've made updates with the handicap accessibility. They've done what they can do, but there's so much more that needs to be done. And it's a beautiful library, and it does service 10% of the county. And so it's our honor to try to help with this project.
Okay, we just appreciate your consideration of the request to help us with the project. So, thank you for that. Any other questions that I can address, or the two others from our board?
No, I just want to thank you, Mr. Weaver, Ms. Miller, and Mr. Hilton for your energy to go into this. It actually was surprising to me also the large percent of people you serve. We tend to think of the Conkle Library as Montoursville, but it really goes beyond that to the adjoining boroughs and townships, or townships, I should say.
It's amazing how many of our users are from the city of Williamsport, for instance.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how many are actually from other areas.
So we want to thank you for that, and I think it's just so important, you know, when families are looking to relocate somewhere, they're looking to see what they have for children. What do they have? Where can my kids go? And so to have libraries in all our boroughs and to have it joined by a library system is really important. And I have to credit all the people who have worked to do that over the years, and the commissioners, this board and past boards, for supporting it. I've been to other counties where they don't have a library system. And each library struggles on its own to try to survive, and each library on its own replicates a need for computer assistance for the services that we get by putting together the money we save. And we've talked about that with the 2,500 boroughs and municipalities we have, how much overlap we have, and Tom knows from the fire service the same thing. So if we want to move ahead as a state, you know, doing these kinds of upgrades is really important to keeping our infrastructure up. So thank you.
And,
Anything else from me?
No, we'll take a vote.
Thank you.
And then you may want to stick around. We're going to make some comments during commissioners
Sure. Glad
about
to
the
do that.
libraries.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion to accept.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
7.9, Ken George voting on an agreement with Metatronics International.
Morning, Ken.
Morning, Commissioners. This is an agreement with Monitronics, which is the previous Select Security. to put a building access system into the new Solomon building.
And it is a budgeted item.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to accept.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next two items are with Beth Baylor. Beth, are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Morning,
Okay.
Beth.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. The first item is the agreement for the tower site with Hughesville Borough Authority. It's in the amount of $500 a year for the first 5 years, and then there is an increase of 20% every 5 years thereafter. This is a budgeted item for 2021.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
So it'll be an increase of 20% for 5 years.
Yes, we have an agreement with them. It's $500 a year for the first 5, and then there's an increase after 5 years by 20%, and then every 5 years it will go up 20%. And it's a 20-year term of a 20-year agreement, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, got a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
The second item I have is an improvement guarantee. This is for our Hesper Hill Tower site. It's simply stating the estimated cost of the tower itself and saying that the county does have the money budgeted, which is a budgeted item for 2021, but the county does have the funds set aside to pay for the construction of that tower site.
Any questions? Motion to accept.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
And the last three items are Jason Yorks. Jason, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioners, item 5, I've down is 5.12. This is an agreement before you for your signature for the 902 Municipal Recycling Program Grant, the amount of $349,485. This was the 2020 902 grant. We finally received confirmation that we're going to receive it. We need approval through the Board of Commissioners. We'll send that in, and then they will send us the check.
Okay, any questions or comments? Motion to accept.
I'll move to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
I'll second.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay, and this is a hard one, too.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
And that was, just so you're corrected, it's 7.12
Oh, I'm sorry.
on the agenda.
7.12, all right. Commissioners, in 7.13, vote on minor permit modification for the existing solid waste permit. So as I brought before you earlier, the informational items that we were going to go out to bid for 28 wells, pumps, and the likes, the permit modification that we're going to send into DEP to do a minor permit mod is for the entire project total over the next course of probably 5 to 8 years. We will be installing 80 wells. The one thing that we're doing between our gas wells is we had originally gone 250 feet between our gas wells. We are now knocking that down to going 100 foot between our wells. We'll be installing additional compressors on the facility, not just to handle what we're doing this year, but future years, plus all the lining and everything. So no matter what you do in a landfill, you have to have prior approval from the Department of Environmental Protection. And that's what this permit modification, it details our scope of work of what we plan to do for the landfill for the next several years.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Commissioners, the last item I believe I have is 7.14, approval for carbonate scale control from general products and supplies in the amount of $11,583. This is a 2021 budgeted item. We purchase this each year. This material is added in with our leachate as the leachate travels through the pumps and the plumbing and the pipes. This material will soften up any of the buildups and it'll keep it from building up because leachate typically will have heavies that drop out of it and it can build up scaling and so forth. So this is the stuff that will help keep that from happening, keep things soft up, and they'll keep flowing in the pipes. And this is through CoStars.
Okay, any questions or comments? No motion.
I'll move to approve.
A second.
All fair side?
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Jason.
Next is Commissioner comment.
Okay. I have a couple comments. First, yesterday we had a conference call with the three pilot counties, Lycoming, and Tioga, and Sullivan, regarding the EMS. And the state looking at helping us develop a study and implement best practices and see where we can improve our times, service calls, and whatnot. From when you have rural counties such as Lycoming, Tioga, and Sullivan, they can pose some serious issues as far as response times, and a number of other things, from retention to just general funding. It was a very productive call, and we look to be able to gather enough data so that he can use that, DCD can use that information to report to the leaders of our municipalities and county commissioners, so that we can take the necessary steps to provide better service for our constituents. If anyone out there has a story that can be told as far as some of the deficiencies within our system, please contact our office so that we can send that information in. My second issue is maybe last week we received, matter of fact, we read an article in the Web Weekly Wednesday of last week, and Scott brought it to my attention, celebrating Pride Month, and we went over to the James B. Brown Library to see what the displays were. And if you go in to the library, there are certain sections within that library that set up displays to either bring awareness, promote, advocate, whatever they may say. I felt that the display in the child section regarding some of the issues in diversity, transgender, pronouns, and I took pictures, were inappropriate. And, where do we draw the line to the appropriateness of what's in our public library? And should we? Okay? Should we try to understand? And I called Barb this morning. I asked Barb if she would consider removing that display from the child's library, understanding, or section, understanding that our children are confused enough, and bringing awareness to 6, 7, 8, 10. I I don't care what age it is. This is something that I believe personally is between a mother and a father. It is something that I do not disagree with having at a public library. No question. If there are issues that arise with parents that don't understand, or county commissioner, I don't understand why it's there, then, or if I had a child that was experiencing some issues, I would want my public library to have that information available for me to learn, okay? But to me, it is an advocacy when you put it out into the display like that. I will say I asked her if she would remove it. She said there is a procedure that she sent me information this morning to have something removed, if it will be removed. And there is a board, a library board, which Commissioner Maravito sits on. I guess when I look at it, I will look at all the information she provides to me. I'm not sure if it will change my mind as far as my belief system. But I can assure you this. When you see the surveys out there where our young elementary and high school, junior high school students talk about suicide, it's alarming. And from a number of areas, from gender, which isn't the tops on the list, but to bullying on, cyberbullying, they're confused. And they should be playing baseball, soccer. They should be living their lives as children. They don't need to know that Jackie is Jack, or that Bill can dress in a dress, or that Sean wants to be a mermaid at an age. That's indoctrination. And I will call it out the way I see it. I'm not happy with what I saw, but it is only my personal belief, as well as a number of constituents that brought it to my attention. So she sent me the information, and just so that you understand, Barb McGarry is one of the best persons I know. She works hard, and she offers services to the sister libraries and people in general. She's done an incredible job, and I will always admire her for the work that she does. This particular instance, I'm not going to be quiet. I believe if we allow things to continue down the path, I looked at an email today that has this, I won't say the name, it's a man. He addresses himself as da-da-da-da, president of this, pronoun he, him, his. What the hell's going on here? I don't get it. And if, where is it all going to end? So I'll be looking at Barb's information, and we'll see where the commissioner's going to take it from there.
So last Wednesday, I had observed the weekly and saw there was an advertisement in there for the James V. Brown Library celebrating Pride Month, and the books would be on display. So my immediate concern went to the children's section. So I called Commissioner Sarr, he had called Barb, he had said the conversation didn't go too well, meet me at the library. So we met at the library around 3 o'clock, we went in and met Barb, and she is an outstanding librarian, she does her best. And this is no attack on our library system, this is no attack on the LGBTQ community. What this is a concern. As I walked in, I had asked her about the books on display.
And if you walk into a bookstore, the books on display are the most popular books, the books they want to sell. And the library's the same way. Put books on display, they promote different months that are popular books to read. And she said over here we have Juneteenth. I asked her last month was National Military Appreciation Month. Did you display books on those? Yeah. Yes, we did. Okay, this Sunday is VD Day. Do you have books out on display about that? No, we don't. Okay, so let me walk back to the section where you have on what display is for Pride Month. So if we walk back there, she shows the books. And at that point, that wasn't my concern. My concern was the children's books. And I said, do you have some in your children's section? She says, yes. So we walked down there, and they're right out. As soon as you walk down, you're right there. And they're titled Jacob's New Dress, Jack, Not Jackie, Julian is a mermaid, Rainbow, Pride, I Am Jazz, When Aiden Becomes a Brother. And I picked up the book about Jacob's New Dress. This is a first grade reading level book. It talked about wearing his sister's clothes. It talked about he didn't like the way it made him feel when he had to put his boys' clothes back on to go outside. And Mom and Dad said, I am born this way. It's okay. I can wear my sister's clothes when I'm inside. This is geared at a first grade reading level. This is geared at children that really don't understand anything about sexuality. I asked her, the library system gives a great deal of county monies, tax dollars monies to the library system. What do I tell taxpayers who do not believe in this? And her response was that she went to, I have a copy here, that was sent to us by Toby Schwartzman, the Public Service Director, who had joined us on the tour, which was the ALA Freedom to Read Statement, which is basically what the library system goes by, that they are all inclusive. So she says, parents have the right to raise their children the way they choose, which I agree with that statement. However, do taxpayers have to fund that? I said, I'm not about burning books. This isn't about censorship. This is about books geared towards children at a very, very young age to indoctrinate a way of thinking. Why are the books out on display? Why aren't they back on a shelf? You say the parent has the right to raise that child, which I agree with. A parent can walk into that library if they have that concern that Commissioner Massar says. Where can I do research on this? The book section's over here. You can go back there and this is where the books are to help you with you and your child. Or they could order the books on Amazon. Pay for the books out of their own pocket and not taxpayers' dollars. Again, I would like those books to be taken off display in the children's section. I feel very strongly it's the wrong approach. You want to have an adult section, adults are adults that make their own decisions. But to have books that are geared towards a form of indoctrination at such a young age, as young as kindergarten, first grade, I mean this book was on a first grade reading level. And for a child to walk over there and pick that up, it's just going to confuse the child all the more. I have talked to several people in the community. They're absolutely outraged that our library system would have books on display, not on shelves, but out on display for a whole month, promoting this. And I will continue to push this. We talked about writing a letter, and I intend to write a letter to the board asking them to take the display down. Again, this is an attack on the library system. They do a great job. That's why we fund them. This is not an attack on the LGBT community. This has to do with what's right and wrong.
and putting books out on display for children that young is wrong in my view. And I think most of the taxpayers in this county would agree with me.
So, you know, as elected officials, we're often asked to deal with issues that may sometimes be something we don't personally agree with. But the reality is that we're elected to represent everybody. We're elected to represent people, whether they support the Second Amendment or oppose the Second Amendment, whether they support people who think that abortion is a right that they should have or not. And all of these issues are issues that we, I think, have to approach as elected officials, keeping in mind that our personal beliefs cannot cloud our obligation to uphold the law and to uphold the Constitution and to uphold the rights of people in our country, whether we agree personally. And I think that it's important for us also, if we want to create a community of tolerance. And I'm thinking of the example 20 years ago when Matthew Shepard was tied to a fence in Texas. He was a gay student, a young man, about 18, 19 years old. He could have been my son. He could have been your child. He was tied to a fence in Texas. He was tortured. And then he was dragged behind a truck until he eventually died. And I believe that when we have books on display in the library, we are creating a community of tolerance, just like we would with any other issue. Because when we create a community where we either ask people to hide or we ask them to put the books at the back of the shelf or don't have the books there, buy them online, what we're really saying is, you folks are second-class citizens, and we're not going to have tolerance in our community. The unfortunate part is that while none of us may condone what intolerance escalates into, the reality is that intolerance often escalates into violence and into death. So I think that from a legal point of view, the books are there both so that people can exercise their right to read what they want to read that's not illegal. And from a practical point of view and from a humanistic point of view, they're there to try to help us have conversations as a community as opposed to having violent reactions against people that we may not know or understand and that in some ways we don't really know how to react to. You know, I was talking about this issue with my son who's in 5th grade and who's 11 years old, and he said, Dad, they talk about this stuff on the bus all the time, except that they talk about it in derogatory terms. That person's a faggot. That person's this or that. And I'm glad Commissioner Mazer brought up the issue of what happens with our youth, because certainly being referred to that way or questioning what one does, and obviously it's parents need to intervene or people who are caretakers for children. But I'd rather have a conversation with my son and try to teach him not to treat people, any person, in a way that's derogatory. I don't believe that the book's presence is advocating or indoctrinating any more than books on other issues are. I mean, that is the beauty of the library. The library is a place for people to get access to information without regard to their ability to pay, their race, their gender, their sex, their politics, or anything. They can get the information and they can choose to do with the information what they want and can hopefully make informed decisions based on it. But I really think for ourselves, I know that it's sometimes complicated because it may go against some beliefs that people have, religious beliefs or others, but the only thing I can say is that we always have to remember to put our obligation to defend people's rights under law and the Constitution ahead of our own personal beliefs. And I think we have to really ask ourselves to be aware of the time we're in. I've said to my colleagues, if we were living in 1940 and someone came and said that, or let's go back a little ways, right? 1910, before women had the right to vote. There were 1,000 reasons why people thought it was legitimate for women not to vote, or for blacks not to vote, or for blacks to be slaves, right? And the connection I'm trying to make is that we always are looking at issues from where we stand and not trying to understand the way the other person feels, that we shouldn't have people feel like their display can't be out because there's something wrong with them. And I think that's why the display is there, just like there are other displays. It's a normal thing to do. So I understand where you're coming from, gentlemen, and I hope maybe we can continue to have conversation about it.
I'm also very concerned about the suicide rate amongst transgenders. There's often children at a very young age, which is there studies on this, at a very young age, having sex changes and then regretting it as they enter adulthood, wishing they could change back. And that's a major concern. 29.9% of transgenders have attempted suicide. Among non-binary youth, 41.8% have attempted suicide. So it's a major concern. Is it up to parents to guide their children, raise them as they see fit? Absolutely. And we cannot allow our personal opinions influence our decisions. But I will stand by the majority of the people who elect me. And if the majority of the people in this county tell me that this is something they don't want to see, then I will stand with them. It's a democracy. That's what democracy is about. And I just feel it's inappropriate for children that young to be influenced in this way by having them out on display. Again, if they're in the shelves, the parents can come in. It's not being second class, or there's shelves full of books. You go in and ask, where can I find the subject? They help you. And then that parent can look that up, or they can get on right here. They can order it on Amazon or any kind of book club if they really feel strongly about it.
I just want to add that no one here is suggesting that we remove these books from the library.
Correct.
That's not what we do. And we live in a republic. We run for office. We advertise ourselves as to who we are, so that people have a better idea of who will be representing them. And Commissioner, we do represent everyone, but we make decisions that don't always necessarily make everything happen. So there's no harm in that. There is no harm in opposing something that, can be controversial, or can be something where I think people would lose support of us giving the library money. I don't ever want to see that happen because it's too valuable. But when we talk about tolerance, this country wasn't founded on tolerance. It was founded on intolerance. You saw that in 2020 when an officer put his knee on somebody's neck and nothing was being done. And what did they do? They weren't too tolerant, were they? But because of that, things started to change. And, how do you stop it? How do you stop going down the direction that one feels that isn't the right direction? I don't know. But you have to stand up for what you believe in. And this is something that I don't believe that our children, young children, should be, being indoctrinated into. I'm sorry. But we will follow the procedure of the library, and we will look at the information, and maybe after I read it, I may change my
I
mind.
ask for the public to reach out and let us know how you feel.
And I hope the public will engage in some conversations of their own with each other about these issues and trying to understand how we can move towards tolerance. Commissioner Massare, you will probably help me with this, but what is the famous quote that the Constitution was written to protect against the tyranny of the majority, right? And I can't remember who said that, but it was really to protect the minority against the tyranny of the majority, and we'll have to go and look that up. But it is a serious issue because from the perspective of people who may be included in the pride category or who may not, there is probably I know there's a feeling that they want to feel as equal in terms of who they are, straight or gay or otherwise. So,
And we have no intentions of discriminating against anybody. I will not discriminate against anybody, and I will not judge anybody. But I don't have to accept or agree with a certain thought process or a certain idea.
no, there's no question you don't. The only thing we have to remember is that's exactly what was said when they said to African Americans that we want you to be in this part of the place. We don't want you to sit at the counter. We don't want you to be in the front. We're going to provide transportation, but we want you to be in the back of the bus. We're going to let you eat in the restaurant, but we don't want you to be in this. We want you to be in a separate section. And I think that what history has shown us is that that kind of segregation of people and ideas ends up, at the end of the day, not being good for either group, because what it does is it creates an intolerance that only leads to violence. So.
And see, I don't agree with that analogy at all. Simply because it is a specific group of people that are still developing. And whether you think that's good or whether you don't, that should be up to the parents to decide. And I'll be honest, I haven't gotten one phone call from anyone regarding this display. Not yet.
No, I haven't either. In fact, I got an email from someone.
Now after it has been announced or shown, then I have. Okay.
So I have an email from someone who said they stopped at the library. With all the commissioner's concerns, I thought the display in the children's area would jump out at me. It did not. I had to ask where it was. I think they made a big to-do about nothing. There's a small sign and a few books. So that's all.
Yeah, walk over and make their own judgment.
That's the beauty of our country, right?
Yep. Okay, any public comment at this time? Being done, our meeting will be adjourned. We've completed our agenda, and our next meeting will be Tuesday, June 15th at 10 a.m. right here in this room.
Thank you all for coming.
Have a great day. Thank you.
That's a bad place.
It was back.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Rick.
You came on a day of drama and,
That was an interesting discussion.
yeah.
I wasn't even aware of the issue.
No, I know.
I had read about it.
SR6.
Certainly something that I can see being debatable.
Right.
There was also,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
our community.
Yeah.
Scott, I don't know if we.
That's money we're gonna get from the state.
Thank you very much.